And joining us on the show right now, I said it last week, I teased that we might have a big guest, and finally we were able to lock him down. It's a man who probably needs no introduction if you could see him, but of course, radio has not advanced in 2016 and you still can't see people on it. But the man I am talking about is GBJames, coach of Team Liquid for CSGO. James, how are you doing today, sir? Can you hear me?
I can. First, I don't think I'm that big. I'm just trying to help people in CSGO. So
See, now you're being modest.
Get a good team.
Modesty.
No, I'm serious though. I got a lot of other things going on, and I just thought, hey, I want to help CS teams. I want to help American CS, and that's where I came from.
So, and that's big. I know we have some questions we want to get to, but I do want to say that you are a big deal in the sense of American CS. I mean, you're one or two top teams right there. I mean, when people think of American CS, they have Cloud9 and Team Liquid.
Well, I'm pretty fortunate to be in that opportunity to be able to help that, and I guess so. I mean, I just came in and helped. I was lucky I had a few connections, people that knew my background before, thought it would lend itself to help coaching, and that I could improve a team, and I kind of helped to put together a roster, and we've been doing pretty good. So
kind of jumping on that background, it's kind of the elephant in the room for a lot of people. Every time they hear GBJames, they kind of think of that Richard Lewis and Thorin video about a Thorin interaction, and I just kind of wanted to give you a chance, a platform to kind of respond and kind of get your side out there as well, because those videos are very
they're pretty heated. So first I want to say that starting with Thorin and Richard Lewis, I admire their work ethic. I appreciate that they're in the space of CSGO. I think that they're needed. There's a couple different buckets that they could be needed in. One is true analysts that understand the game and can contribute high-quality content. And the other is type of a shock jock role for entertainment value. And I think that they blend – I don't know that they truly know which direction they're headed. I would lend itself to saying that Richard Lewis might be more of a shock jock, and then Thorin might be more of the analyst side, but then they switch it up. I don't know. I hope good things for them, and I like their content. I watch the majority of it. I smile when they zing me often. I think it's funny. I think it's deserved in the context of the space. I think I've gotten everything that I've asked for. So I'll start with it. So I started it. Okay. So there's no, and I guess this is, so Hiko, he released an article about Hiko, basically talking about how much money and Liquid, and when I was trying to recruit him, and Liquid had failed to recruit him a couple times before I came to the team. They just had one time he didn't want to join, one time he wanted to go somewhere else, and another time, he was too much money and they didn't want to pay that. They had failed at a couple times of negotiations. And so when I came back to CS, literally a week, like so cold, I hadn't been around the scene for 3 years. I didn't look at the computer barely. I said, Spencer, I had asked him about his background. We had a conversation. Tell me about the last 3 years. He told me everything, all of his background. Hiko, are you kidding me? Like the shot, told me every single cool thing that had happened to him in his career. And that was in the very beginning. And so he told me that the industry space had a lot of dumb money at different times, and people were just throwing money at him, but it wasn't sustainable. And it wasn't, and it didn't really lead to having a stable competitive team. And I thought that's what Liquid was able to bring at the time when I had met them. And I basically said, stop chasing dumb money, come play on a real, true competitive team of a sustainable eco-structure of a team, and let's get down to business, man. You're a badass. Let's get you back to where you should be. And he was like, okay. And I felt like I supported him in that. And then the moment I saw the article, I was very sensitive, and I think I and not knowing him and not knowing how often, and not appreciating journalists and how often they get attacked for stories that they break. I felt really bad about that. I felt that I was trapped and I couldn't apologize publicly for a couple different reasons I can't get into, but I changed that. I was ignorant to the plight of what it is to be a journalist and tried to put that out there and then do that because I think it's needed in the space and I think he does a good job at it. So I was overly sensitive to the point where I thought that it was an attack, and Hiko felt attacked. He was upset at it because he was like, I'm trying to do the right thing and I'm still getting shit for it. So what do I do? And I was trying to protect him in that. And I was trying to big brother stick up for him. And then I got slayed. So it's okay. And then that led, obviously they're a clique. I mean, they're good friends. And that led itself to Thorin, I think. And then the Thorin thing, this is so I had been, when I came back, the other person I contacted was Danny Fraud. And I was pretty much engaging him to try to see if he would want to come back. Maybe I was going to start playing again. And maybe I was like, I was egotistical, pompous. And even when I did a first interview, I think that some lack of insecurity of people not knowing who the hell I was when I played for a decade was confusing to me. And I had too much bravado when I talked. And so I don't think that I said too many things in error. I actually tried to figure it out in my, cause I had a sense of you question, what's going on? So I actually looked at it and if there's some things that he said that I think are accurate and inaccurate. So I'll address those really quickly. I did play for an extended long period of time. I was a very successful instructor at that time. People were wondering, how do you create so many teams and make them pretty good in NA? And people were looking for help, and I offered that help. But the main thing that really hit home, and I think that Moses and Thorin really hit hard on, was that when I said I made Danny, I think that so first of all, I was talking to him every day, and it was like a video or a verbal, thing like this. And so sometimes you say things that came out, and I think I even caught myself. I said something like, where is it? I made Danny, I said, I've taught a lot of people know Fraud. And then I caught myself and I'm like, no, with hair, we put a lot of leadership and growth into Danny. Now, and I said, I've taught a lot of oppers. Now, all I said, first of all, I was one of the pieces to support Danny in his growth with leadership and maturity in the various stages of his career. Early stages, but past that, I didn't do anything other than when I cut him, and I think I gave him a lot of fuel to hate me forever and then become and just slay me every time. If you actually look at old Game Sense, he killed me more than any other player ever. So he dominated me. So anyway, of course, so that answers that. So I just want to say there's certain things that I don't think that there's. I think that took a lot of it offended a lot of people, and I came in with arrogance. And let's be honest, there's an ego scene out there where people aren't going to make room for new people to come back. You have to earn your way, and I didn't want to earn my way, and I got slayed. So I guess this is me just trying to for the last couple of months, just be so quiet, just stay out of the limelight. If a coach is being in the limelight too much, I think that that's bad because I think my role is just to be quiet and support the players. So this is the only reason why I would do this show is to kind of correct some things and apologize publicly and then just shut up and get to work.
Well, that's awesome.
And if there's anything that's a guarantee is that after this show, at least 10 more people will know who you are. So
yeah, you're doing good at staying out of the limelight by picking us. There you go.
It's great. And also, I mean, no one can blame you.
Hilarious.
You said it yourself where you were trying to be big brother to Hiko. And I mean, you are the coach of the team after all. If anyone needs to go and defend the players, the coach, I feel, is going to be the first one up to do so. Mm-hmm. And that's in any sport, the coach is
Fair
there.
Enough. Yeah. I mean, you got to be careful where you stick your neck out. But yeah, I was fully involved in the situation as much as I could be. But I should have just. I don't, after rereading the article way later, I'm like, man, that's not so bad. But I was really sensitive to the fact that I was trying to support Hiko into rebuilding a great team. So, and sticking up for him. So I think, I don't know. I apologize to Richard in the sense that like I said, I think he does a good job and he gets a lot of stuff for being a journalist. And I think that comes with just breaking stories and you can offend people, but a lot of that information needs to be heard. I think he's out to help and support the same people I feel like that I am. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
So speaking of getting, like how you said, getting involved in things and everything like that, there was a situation, and we don't have to spend too much time on it, but at RGN, the tournament RGN, where you were playing Luminosity, and there was a whole fiasco of computer turning off and all of that, we kind of got a picture from it from one angle to where the tournament, there was some disconnect there. What was that like being someone directly involved with one of those teams? I mean, have you ever been a part of anything like that through playing career and coaching?
Actually, a bunch. Online, on LAN. So the rule of thumb is this. Anytime damage happens after the round is live, it's live, and you play out, and it's just shitty whatever happens, but that's how it is. And so I think there was a kill exchange and damage exchange, but I can't remember. But I know it was past that threshold. And then Luminosity, in my opinion, either had not been in that exchange before or had not understood the rule, and then got up from their computers and just and some of that could be said humble, and I think that generally that's their character. But it also, in other places, in other situations, could be deemed as a power play. Like, we're going to get up. I remember a LAN a long time ago, 3D Rambo. Something happened in a match. He got up from the computer and basically was like, we're not going to play unless, if this is restarted. And it could be, and that's how top teams conduct themselves is that when something's not right, they'll take a stance. And so I felt that Luminosity took a stance in saying, okay, something happened. We're not going to play. We're going to replay the round. And so what happens is that it's sad because we don't have referees yet, but the tournament organizers want both teams to return, and they want the teams to say good things about them. So it is not in their best interest to usually be, on smaller tournaments, to be really tough. They're going to try to go ahead.
That kind of explains the because that was the whole deal with us when we talked about it. It kind of seemed like the organizers wanted to shift the decision on to specifically to Hiko and to you guys at Team Liquid.
Well, that's exactly that's what they want. Is they want it to all be nice and not anybody's problem. If Hiko restarts, well, not Hiko, the team. If the team agrees to, Hiko's just the person speaking, but it's the team. Okay, so let's not pick on him too much. If the team restarts, then the tournament organizers are like, whew, nobody's angry at us. We're okay. Even, we didn't mess up. But the reality of it is, the rule is, if something happens, the round stands. And then Luminosity is angry at RGN because, they allowed a person to be too, you know what I mean? They didn't run their tournament as effectively as they possibly can. So I was behind the team in supporting that decision. I think that that's just the way it goes in that situation. I have encouraged and talked to other organizations and said, look, if this happens and we're on the brunt end of that, that's what you need to do. Do not don't feel bad if you continue the round like that, and take the round, because we're not going to get up from the computers and stop playing because we know the rule. So I think that that Luminosity is a great team. And I like them all as players, and I like the owner. I know him well. So I hope good things for them, and I'm sad that had to happen. Hopefully, as tournaments evolve, they won't really put teams in that situation.
It's one of those things that esports in general, though, is going to forever have to deal with there's a lot of electronics going into play. And eventually,
well, the fun part about that, it wasn't even electronics. It was a volunteer that just happened to bump into a computer or something. So it's kind of
anything can happen. Though.
Yeah,
anything can happen.
So much like with Hiko, we now have the dumb money out of the way. Let's get down to business. let's talk about coaching.
Okay.
Give us kind of like a high level overview of what you kind of do as a coach. Like, just what would you put on your resume as a job description as a CSGO coach?
That's tough, but that's a really tough question. I'm going to try to think before I answer it so that I don't go long-winded like the Thorin apology. Okay. So, coaching. I do so much, but I'll try to find out the most. Okay, so first of all, it's just taking everybody's goals and having them feel like they contribute. I make sure that every single person on the team contributes in every single thing that we do, whether that's strategy. I get all voices so that they have buy-in. I try to create an open and honest atmosphere where we can talk about mistakes, because we'll never fix anything if people are worried about taking ownership. I have 2 rules for the team. One is don't argue about anything that we didn't practice, which covers a lot. And 2, before you attack or suggest or look outwardly of what anybody else is doing, evaluate yourself first and focus on yourself. And I think that a lot of team fighting happens when people aren't focused on themselves, in the sense of their own game and improving themselves. So if people were to be like, Hiko was toxic, or something like that was said a lot beforehand. I haven't experienced that too much in the team. He has a strong opinion, but I constantly engage Spencer in trying to be the best player that he can be, and he's fully engaged in that. So he started watching Death, and he never has before as a practice. So that's pretty cool. He's committed to being the best player he has ever been now in this team, and that he's taken that outward energy where he might be focusing on things that he shouldn't be on, focusing on himself and improving his game play and his team play with the team. So that's the first thing, is just having everybody be focused and have goals. Other than that, I watch a ton of demos. I'm heavily managing, trying to build an analytics team that we're trying to constantly innovate on how we're anti-stratting teams, reviewing that and building a team around me to do that. So I used to play and be an in-game leader. Now I'm basically being a leader for the team and trying to create, a support staff and develop new tactics to support the team.
And now, was that a difficult transition for you from going from in-game leader and player to being more of a background voice, if you will, however you want to word it? Was the transition from in-game leader, player to coach, what was that like?
It was seamless, because I kind of feel like if this was around, I probably should have never played. I'm going to be honest. I like the game. I love the game, but I feel that I coached way too much when I was playing. And I feel like if this role would have been around when I was playing, I would have just been the coach. So I don't know. I really enjoy it. It drives me. It drives me to support and engage the players. It's something that I've always done. I think the people that know me are just like, oh, that fits him, man. He'll do well in that, and he'll enjoy it. And I think that's the most important part about it.
So would you say then, because I know, according to your Twitter, that you did serve in the military. So thank you for that, first off, more than I've ever done. Would you say that kind of helps being a leader? I mean, I don't know exactly what you did in the military, but does that kind of transition over for being a leader and knowing how to get people to work together as a team?
I think so. I think that a lot of the team, even from just like yelling at people to put on the same team tag and organize themselves like a uniform in the military, I would say that a lot of the things that I've learned either through education or through any type of team environments that I've been in and the military have lent that. Yeah, I would say so. I'm pretty tough in that sense of, the only short answer is yes.
So kind of along those lines of transitioning with your experience in like in-game leading, how do you kind of see that role developing now? We keep seeing these high level in-game leaders are being dropped from teams like Pronax and GOB recently, and Sean Garris stepped down, but it's another highly touted IGL that's kind of been pushed to the wayside.
Yeah, I think that we're going to find a lot of teams are going to run on fumes after they cut their thought leaders and their drivers of practice. I mean, if you read the article that Freakazoid just put out, like today, you'll see him say something like, I was trying to motivate the team and I got dead silence from the team. Something I'm paraphrasing, but that's something like that. And I'm thinking, well, that sounds like a lack of leadership to me, Freakazoid. And I know he was a big supporter of Sean Gary, so it's sad that he has to go through that. So I don't think it's on his fault that Sean totally isn't with the team anymore. But I do think that we are, as a fan base, focus too much on stats, and we don't support people with in-game leadership enough. We just want to move them to coaches. And once that happens, I mean, to be honest, most of those people don't want to be coaches. That's what we're finding. And we're trying to force them to be coaches, and we're trying to remove them from the game selfishly so that we can have 5 fraggers. But what you're not seeing is the amount of effort that they put in. And I think that's what exhausted Sean Gary's. He put so much into the team and didn't really fully engage the team to do their own work. And if he did, they maybe couldn't or didn't want to or didn't really have the fundamentals and the experience that he did to do a certain percentage of the work. And I think the part of the streaming thing kind of makes it difficult because you can almost make more money streaming than playing competitively. So once that dynamic shifts, I think we'll have a lot more easier time, with people focusing on the competitive side of the game. I don't know if it'll ever switch, but I think eventually once the prize money goes up. But to answer the last part of that is I think that we need to support in-game leaders with more exposure per organization. So, for example, I mean, Adren's a hot topic as far as Richard Lewis and Thorin in the community and people picking on him. But if they knew what he did in game and the amount of energy that he put in the game and the amount of drive that he supports a team with, I think that if we did a better job educating the public of what they contribute, people would endear them more and kind of give them the credit that they deserve.
So on the topic of that and analytics that you were talking about earlier, is there anything in particular that you guys are tracking to kind of give that kind of light to Adren as y'all's in-game leader at all? I'm just curious if there's anything you guys have come up with.
We're staying in the question. Let's just say that. Okay. We're staying. I think that's the first thing is you pick an issue, you pick a thing, and you just stay in the question and until you find that answer. So let me think, who was it? Well, I wanted to talk about the coaching role briefly, about the coaching role and the in-game leader role and this shift to the 6th man. I do believe that could be something. Right now, I just want to say, so if you brought in a coach to like Starix to be your 6th man in-game leader, do I think it works? Yes. Do I think that that's the only model? No, because I believe that you can support an in-game leader enough where possibly you might not have to go to that role yet, because I don't think the infrastructure of the LAN tournaments really support that. The only time we even saw that yet was at the LA qualifiers. They had laptops and I think one other LAN. But until that becomes uniform in a thing where an in-game leader can actually physically be a 6th player and then have a coach to support that in-game leader who is a 6th player, until we move to 6-man rosters fully, I think that you could do it either way. The way we do it is I just fully support Adren, or you get what I'm trying to say, right? Or you can move to that role, but then you still have one guy bearing the weight. Whereas unless you had an in-game leader, unless Starix had a coach. If Starix had a coach, then I'm okay with it, But I still think the more support and manpower you put behind the work ethic, I think the better.
We were actually watching a Splice game, 2 or 3 days ago, where they were talking about having the coach in game and being able to be much more effective if he's in game, able to watch it as opposed to kind of trying to pace back and forth watching 5 different screens at a time.
Yeah, I might be old or something, but I get tired back there. And I can only see 1 or 2 screens at a time. I'm mind blown at how Starix has been so successful. I asked C's, like, how does he do it? He doesn't have any sound. Like, that makes you online, because online you can see everything, click through everybody, talk, hear sounds, help analyze mid-game, like fully 6-man in-game, and then all of a sudden you're just, like, imagine just playing Counter-Strike without sound. It's just awful.
Yeah,
so
it's not even fun.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's grueling, to be honest. It would be a lot more fun if you were just relaxing, watching the computer, and did that. So I've been asking every tournament, can we get a 6th computer? And they're just starting to do it.
So when looking at tournaments and everything like that, and you touch on leadership, and that seems to be the theme with this. When there's an unexpected loss, or I mean, there's always upsets and everything like that in any sport. How do you, as a coach, I mean, do you work closely with an in-game leader on that sense? Or overall, how does Team Liquid deal with a unexpected loss? Because the public's perception is always a lot more negative.
Okay. Well, first, I think losing can be good. I don't know of any team that has gone undefeated in any sport that I know of that has had consistent success, because I think that playoffs usually, and hard times in playoffs and in higher land bracket situations, the games are a lot closer, and you have a lot of grit and grind that you have to deal with. You have to be gritty in those situations, and you don't learn grit by being 16-0 during a season. So I'm okay with losing as long as it's not too much. No, I'm serious though. I feel like a little bit of losing is good because it keeps people focused and realizing that they're not the most amazing people ever, and that they need to stay on their game if they lost the right way. You get what I'm trying to say? Like,
yeah.
It's a gut check sometimes. And I mean, if you can do that without doing that, great. But if we were to lose, I mean, so let's look at the current situation. Simple. We were working on getting his visa. He had 170 ping, and it was, I think, like 4 a.m. at his time when he was, or 2 a.m. when he was starting to play with us for a couple days. And then it was, you're going to leave your girlfriend and your family and your home, and you're going to come to America, and you're 18 years old. So he had to have a little bit of time to himself to spend with his family and friends and girlfriend and say goodbye for now. And so we didn't get much preparation in there as much as we could. I actively pushed the team to practice as 4. And after that, now we have to re-catch up and see and figure out what Simple is going to do. And then I have to piece that together. So I don't know that we'll have the strongest start out, to be honest. But I'm confident that we're going to grind our asses off. And I think that'll make us a better team overall than if we just started like everything was a total breeze. You know, we face Luminosity and ESL, I think next Thursday. So, yeah, I'm okay with losing as long as I think that losing helps bring out all the warts, and you really figure out how to solve those critical situations, so that when whoever the guy was on Navi, clicks through a smoke, snacks through a smoke and kills 3 people, we don't tilt like we did at that time. I think we'll you know what I'm saying though,
yeah.
Right? You're gonna figure out those situations and figure out where your communication breaks down, and then really see it and then fix it before it gets to the point where it really matters.
So, and you mentioned, ESL is starting up soon here. The season's beginning. 2016 is starting for everyone here. How do you guys, CSGO kind of seems like a never-ending machine. It's every weekend there's some qualifier for a qualifier, or whatever you want to consider it.
Yeah.
There's always something going on that everybody thinks if you don't win this match, it's the end of the world. So how do you guys look at a season and take game by game by game? Like the season's approaching. I guess what I'm trying to ask is just how do you prepare for that individual season and treat it as such?
I think we just have to focus on one game at a time. That's all I can say is the one round at a time, in one game at a time until it's over. so how that works is that we have a lot of things happening, and I think we ground ourselves out pretty hard. I know it hit Fugly hard, the amount of CS that we were playing, and we were really hitting it hard. And to address the whole thing about roster changes, I think this is a good topic because this is another contention. I wish I had said this in the piece with the Thorin thing, but I'll say this. I said something pretty lippy on Twitter that basically said about if roster changes work so great, why don't we try it with the analyst desk? Okay. And that
I do remember that tweet. Yeah.
Okay. So why I said that was this. I wanted Thorin and Richard Lewis and any other analyst desk that constantly attacks players and teams to remove them from rosters to understand that they're literally they're like getting people fired. Okay. And then I can understand that, but I feel like there needs to be a little bit of sensitivity to it. And I wanted them to understand what would it be like if every day somebody talked about you being replaced or fired. I know that they do face some of that in some situations, some warranted, some not. But again, this was just me protecting my team, which in a sense does not work because those guys have incredible work ethic. While I'm busy coaching and supporting my team, they're busy making videos. So their sphere of influence is always going to win. So I gotta keep my mouth shut. That's what that's what I learned.
I know the feeling.
I'm not gonna win those. I just need to shut up.
There's always been talk about that.
Brandon's been a victim.
Yeah,
he's been a Twitter victim too.
That's okay. That is what it is. But I mean, there was people talking about that exact same thing when Cloud9 added Stewie 2K to their roster, talking about. Everyone says how shallow the pool of NA talent is, but then you get upset when a team tries to add somebody that's not necessarily established and, wants them to grow with the team. So I totally understand where you're coming from on that. You need some consistency, something to keep everything driving. And how are you going to grow if you don't have, the people to grow with?
Yeah. Yeah. So I just wanted them to not them. I just want Here's my thing on roster changes. This feels good to get off my chest. I feel like you're as a leader of any team, you need to exhaust all options before you make roster changes because it affects an in-game leader. The fact that it just makes them play worse. Whoever is calling, it severely taxes them for a while, and I believe that it affects the other players by the monotony that you have to go over basic stuff again and again and again. And I don't feel that our core of players has too many roster changes in them before they mail it in. I feel like you only got a couple in my experience. And then it's really hard to get them to go over the minutia of, oh, I'm the first guy that smokes into the site, not you. Like it's those little things. You never get to build on the second, third, and fourth tier of strategy usually if you constantly do that. So it's a compromise. Do I want to remove the strategy from my team and dumb it down to high fraggers and just constantly make roster changes? People have to figure out what type of team you're going to be, like the Boston Celtics when they had I forget the coach's name, when they're really great offense. But so the end of all it is that I think that what I learned as a leader over the 10 years that I led was you try to exhaust all options and you seek to motivate from within. And if you learn some tips and tricks to get people to re-energize, refocus, and recommit, you can pull their best out of them, and you don't always have to instantly do roster changes. So when Thorin says, I've only seen that, basically see teams, his philosophy is he's only seen teams do great or do improvements when they've made roster changes. And to some degree, I do believe that. I think that could even be 60-40. But I think a lot of that is also, I've seen a lot of teams be very good by keeping a stable roster. I don't think Counter-Strike is overly complicated. I just think that it's the team that makes the least amount of mistakes wins. And that's very hard to create when you're constantly replacing people. And the last thing is you delete the trust from the team, because I feel like a team needs to have trust in the environment for them to own up and really figure out mistakes. And you zap that once you change it to an all-changing roster. So, okay, that's the answer.
Are you worried? Is that worrisome to you then? I mean, do you see that as a trend going on in the future as far as roster changes? Because it seems like in esports, it's a very short leash when it comes to performance.
I don't, because I think that a lot of people in the infrastructure that had that experience about roster changes left the industry after CGS and everything else died. And the whole Patio John was somebody that I knew that had pretty good success with Good for Nothing and his team. And he's a friend of mine. And he adamantly, in 1.6 for a couple years, took over the NA scene. And he refused to do roster changes if he couldn't, because he knew what they did. And so, again, so the situation with Fugly, I couldn't stop it. But also, when I couldn't stop it, I made sure we got the best player that we possibly could if we were going to do it. So that, I mean, and getting Simple is a pretty big signing. So I made sure that happened if we were going to go that route. And that happened from Hiko. Everybody's like, so Hiko messaged him. It happened when we weren't going to get Alu, and Alu was he was really, really close. And then he decided, I didn't know that he was the best fit for the team. Actually, I was suggesting that we shouldn't get him and stay either with the same roster or find someone else. I just didn't think that he was a mesh with the players that we had. So, I was okay with it. Like I wasn't, but then he decided to go to his ENT thing that he was doing. And then we were left with reevaluating the roster again. And to full disclosure, Eric knows, and we evaluated the team, not me. The team evaluated, not he's married to the organization, he knows where the bodies are buried. The team evaluated if they wanted to keep a Dren, and they decided to keep him. And that's Hiko, and Nitro, Elige. They all decided that they wanted to keep him on the team, and they wanted him to be a part of the team. And then he stayed. So once we did that and we evaluated that would be part of it, we moved to get Simple. So I asked Hiko to put me in touch with him, and then he did. And then we just started talking. And then I put him in touch with Victor. And then Victor and Robin proceeded to do a lot of the work in supporting him and getting him here.
So you guys did one thing as a team, as an organization. You did one thing that I respect, and that's you broke the seal of only looking an NA team only looking at NA players. You went to Europe. You're fine. You went to the European pool, which that was always the question of, will that work? What was is there any thought process in the professional scene? I know Sean Garris has brought it up. I know some players have opinions on it. What's the insider look when it comes to NA versus EU? Where does that sit with you?
So I'll tell you how that organizationally sits. I think that we have a pretty strong blend I think we have a yin and yang for the owners of our organization, in Steve being a strong, I don't want to say cold, but he is cunning. He's a cunning businessman, and he's of the Thorin mentality of cut people, get roster changes, make it happen, get the best players. He's going through his own evolution in that and experience in the best way to go about that. And I feel that Victor is the complete opposite. Victor is like, let's just keep the people till they die. I'm like, that's just the feeling, the loving, supporting, nurturing person that he is. And I think that we have the best of both worlds in the clash of, I feel like I kind of tread myself, at least for the CSGO team, in the middle of what I try to support. And you have the influence of both. So the influence to go get an international player was from Steve in the support, in the vision of expanding that. And I think he has that from his League of Legends side, where, I'll just get Piglet, bring people. So I think that vision of seeing that you can do that comes from him. but also the support and the drive to do that is supported by Victor in understanding to navigate whether it was going to actually fit in the team. So that he's been, I'm really fortunate to have the best of that, the two minds. So as far as NA versus EU goes, I think that we have a culture right now that I think that we're changing, and I think we're under a lot of pressure to change it. And I think that we are slowly and steadily starting to do so because of the awareness, and that's the first step. So I think that the European scene has always been ahead. So I don't know. I think that we're working hard, at least in Liquid's our camp, to do the best that we can to have a better work ethic. And I know that a lot of people are behind the scenes trying to actually support and improve the American practice regime on all teams. Like organizationally, they're talking about how we can improve and by organization lead to bring our teams to a standard of excellence that maybe, it starts at the organization level down of what they expect of the teams. So we're evaluating that.
So I know
we can't scrim if nobody else is on. You know what I'm saying, right? Like,
yeah, I know it takes two to tango, and it's kind of hard to practice when another team's not there.
Yeah. So I think it's a whole national thing where everybody has to raise the bar.
So you've given us an amazing glimpse into kind of the NA Counter-Strike scene, the coaching side of it, all the way down to bar spats with certain analysts. But I think there's one more question that we want to ask that's really important. Everybody wants to know.
And you don't have to give away secrets on this, James.
Yeah, you don't have no secrets.
Okay.
You can be yes or no, whatever you want to say. Have you ever seen Hiko without his hat? Is it glued on?
Yeah, I've seen him a bunch without it. No, it's not glued on. It's good. No, I just think he feels comfortable with it. He's grown into himself. He'll be fine without the hat.
I think we're going to wrap it up here short. I mean, do you have anything else that you wanted to get off your chest?
Yeah, there were a couple things on just the coaching side. I guess what I do is important because people might think I'm just like a motivator or like a cheerleader or something. And while I am that, we have a pretty big thing to tackle. So, I think I'd like the community to know what we're up against so that they can support us in it. The people that would be interested in supporting probably one of the best chances that NA has to compete at international tournaments. So the first thing is Simple speaks pretty good English, but he comes from a whole different cultural background. And so we have to blend that into the team, and that in itself, we have to develop how to have arguments and how to have healthy arguments and how not to just throw jabs and darts. And that's not speaking to him. That's just in general of how we go about fighting productively. Okay. So I'm not afraid of the fighting, but we have a lot of work to do in that as far as so that when those things happen, we can brave through them without any issues. And I'm confident that Sasha and the team, because we're not perfect as the 4 or 5, including me, without him. We have a lot to work on there, integrating and finding out what he likes and really supporting him in that because he's an incredible player without letting him overshine a lot of the other players on the team. And then, you know what I mean? Because that'll drain. Everybody wants to feel special. You know what I mean? So we got to be careful and mindful of that we support Simple, but also don't let him consume our identity. And so I'll be working in that. But what I do as a coach is, if I were to break it down, I analyze demos heavily. I support the analyst team and try to figure out the best statistics that we can to win. I'm always looking for cool tools, working on projects that understand the game, that can give us data so that we can analyze our opponents and ourselves. First off, ourselves. I make videos of watching demos and I give them to the team. Little, hey, this is a cool setup. Hey, this is a cool spot. Look at this strat. I farm information and give it to the team I watch our demos, but I also sit back behind us and I watch us play, and I take notes every time we play, every time we scrim. I bring new things to practice. I would say that I am the in-game leader without, as far in practice, I'm the leader most often in practice, that I instantly take a back seat the moment Adren or anybody else has anything to contribute. I just shut up, but I fill the void. If there is a void, I always have something to contribute, whether it be something of a mistake that we have made. And so the question is, like, how did I do that after not playing for 3 years and support the team? And I think that comes, and I share this, and why I talk about this is so that anybody else can help improve their teams, is that I created an environment where all I did is ask everybody else questions, and I set the table and allowed everybody to talk and made sure that they were heard and contributed to the overall arching strategy of the team so that they're all engaged and involved. So I think that that's the secret to really getting a team, is to give them all support and things that they're not good at, maybe they become the leader of. And then when you engage them in that topic, they're not attacked because it's their job. So, and then they get better and more proficient at it. So anyway, that's
out of all those roles that you've got as the coach, what's kind of the hardest thing for you to do and to process for your team?
I would say sometimes, obviously the corrections. So, what do I know, right? Why would you listen to me? That's difficult, but I'm always learning new things. And I usually come and ask them, I always just treat the person with respect and ask them what they were thinking and what they were trying to accomplish. And then once they communicate that, because usually, this is really cool. Usually it's something that they were overcommitting, that they were trying too hard on. And they maybe it's an area of the map that they had too much. They didn't understand the full responsibilities. So I've been making the team go on the server and just being like, so talk about your spot on this map. What do you think your responsibilities are? What do you think that you're in charge of? Where area of the map, and what do you think about it? What's your philosophy? And then the other players see that, and then they can mold that in. And sometimes we found that they expose themselves way too much because they think they're responsible for way too much. So I would say that is a really difficult thing that I've spent a lot of time correcting mistakes. Obviously, I'm still working on it.
Gotcha.
Spoken like a true coach, really.
Yeah.
I mean, everything you've said so far in this interview, I have no personal experience in being a coach, but you've sold me on it. I'm buying into the liquid hype on this one.
Okay. Well, just know that I think that our team is working very hard. None of the things that we could have accomplished thus far, or that I hope to accomplish, can be done without the strong work ethic of our team. I think that they all want to be winners. I think that they have what it takes. I think that we have to build better habits, as a team and just as a nation for American CS. But I think that our team specifically is committed to doing that. And hopefully we can be examples and raise the bar for the rest of everybody else by exposing, not too much, okay, but enough to share that, if you develop good habits and make them stick, and don't focus on being the best, but just focus on being your best every day and committing to that, you'll be good. So you'll improve.
Excellent, sir. Well, James, again, we can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming on the show, giving us this wealth of knowledge. It's crazy to hear from the inside, because you normally don't ever hear, this much information in one setting, or at least especially in esports.
I'm just ready to break out my Team Liquid shirt again. I'm telling you.
Go to Jinx or something. I think that's a new sponsor we got for.
I've already got my shirt. I bought that. Yeah, I've got my Team Liquid shirt. I'm trying to get one for this guy over here, but I think you're slowly pulling him over from Cloud9.
I'm a fan of.
Well, it is a pretty cool logo. You know that, right? I mean, it's probably one of the coolest logo in esports.
Agreed.
That's the whole reason why I joined.
Just the logo.
The logo.
The t-shirts looked cool. Look. You know what? you guys do have really cool track jackets. I'll give them that.
Yeah, the white ones. I like them. The white ones are pretty nice.
Like, I don't know if I can be a professional solitaire player for Team Liquid, but I'll do anything to get the jacket. I'll be on Team Liquid to get a personalized jacket. If we could bother you
really
for
cool.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, go for it.
If I could bother you for one more thing, sir, and that is every radio show kind of does it. I'm sure you've heard it once or twice in your life, but that is a radio liner. That's where you introduce yourself. So I am GBJames of Team Liquid. And you're listening to TCR, the centering, really whatever you want to. We're not a creative show, James. So just, whatever you want to throw in there, go for it.
What is it? My name, my title, and this is TCR Radio?
Yeah, you're listening to the center ring, or, however you want to do it.
Center ring.
Put your own twist on it.
Okay, let me think. Hold on. I got to compose myself here.
I put you on the spot.
Hi, this is James of I got to start over. Hi, this is James, the coach of Team Liquid, and you're listening to the Center Ring.
Excellent.
Perfect. There we go.
You can't ask for more. That's it. And now that's our audio autograph. Well, James, again, I can't thank you enough for hopping on the show. Again, I know it was a long time in the waiting. If anything, the fact that it took us 3 weeks to get this interview shows the commitment that you have to practicing with your team. So, again, I appreciate you coming on the show. I know Brandon appreciates it. Hopefully, we'll see you around. We'll be in MLG Columbus and DreamHack Austin.
Oh, nice.
So hopefully, if you're there.
Hopefully, we'll be there, right?
Right. So hopefully, if you're there, we'll say hi.
There. Yeah. Definitely. The only thing I'd say is I hope that your radio show grows. I think you guys do a great job. I was really excited to learn about the people that I listen to on your show, and I wish you the best of luck.
Hey,
thanks, James.
Thank you, James. And we'll talk to you in a little bit, all right?
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye now.